So this screencast is one of a series that explores different tools I tried out to create demo collections of the Vassar College Costume Collection. This was a little experiment that I conducted in spring of 2009. And this particular screencast is going to start looking at Greenstone software. We'll start by looking at the user interface, and then in another screencast to follow, we'll look at the administrative interface. So when we go to the Greenstone test site at Vassar, this is the first window that appears, and a Greenstone demo is included for you as a default, which actually turned out to be really helpful in terms of looking at the how that was set up, and for this project really looking at the code, at how it was done. Now, part of the aim of this project was to try to work with each software tool just out of the box, without much documentation, without much assistance, and see what I could get out of it. Greenstone was indeed the hardest to do that with, and I found that I did actually need to know how to code a little bit of it myself to get any kind of a reasonable interface for my public audience. I'll get to that in a minute. But so for that, looking at having that demo to look at how it was coded was really helpful. The collection that we're specifically going to look at is here, the highlights of the Vassar Costume Collection. One option I didn't take advantage of was to be able to put a thumbnail image here to associate with that. Also, I could have changed the border here on the side. This is just the kind of standard border that is the Greenstone logo. So those are some things that I actually could have fairly easily changed and just chose not to. Now we go to the highlights of the Vassar Costume Collection. It takes us to an introductory page. Again, I probably could have included some images here, either in the border or the banner, but I didn't. Just a brief introduction and some brief information about how to use this particular form of digital collection. One of the things that I really liked about Greenstone, though, that was different from some of the other tools we used, was the different ways that you could create, that you could set up for your users to search or to organize your objects. So, for example, I created a sorting mechanism to look at things by period. So here I can click on by period, and it shows me that all of my 8 objects fit into these 4 different periods. I'm going to select crinoline, and here are all the images associated with the crinoline period. And this is just taking it directly from my data entry, which you'll see in the next screencast. So I didn't particularly create these sorting categories. It created them for me based on the ones that were in my data. But here are all the crinoline period ones that come up. Let's go back. Actually, now let's look by title. And in this case, because my collection is so small, that's part of why I chose this title sorting system, so that I could easily get at all of the objects in the collection. Each of my 8 objects has a unique title. What you will see, though, is that when I go to the title, then I get all of the images that are associated with that title. So in fact, this Greenstone is maybe a little bit in between how collective access approaches the object versus image issue and how Omeka approaches that issue, at least at the time that I did this experiment. So Greenstone also basically is set up, and again we'll see this in the admin interface, that each record, each item, each entry, whatever term you want to use, is directly, there's kind of a one-to-one relationship with the image. So each of these is a record. But because of the way that I can so simply sort it by title, it's easy for me to get at kind of breaking it down into the 8 objects that are in the collection and then looking at the related images for each of those. Now let's just do a plain old search. So we've done this in others. We'll use the DAISY search. So again, you'll see that 5 documents come up. These are the 5 images that are associated with my one daisy chain dress. My search view comes up with a thumbnail and a short description of each one. If I click on the thumbnail, it'll take me to a larger size image, basically taking me directly to the JPEG that's associated with that. But then if I go back, now I'll click on the identifier, which in this case is the title of the image, and that's going to take us to the full entry related to that. So here again we're seeing the thumbnail, and here's all the basic data that goes along with that. You'll see down here where it says costume dress, this is showing how it fits into a hierarchy that I've started to create for this collection. This is a little different than the hierarchy that was in the collective access software. For that I had object, then costume. So to be consistent, I guess I probably should have created object as the higher field in the hierarchy here. And I think, let's see, if I click on this thumbnail, will it take me to the image again? If it wasn't being so slow, it might. Yep, there we go, back to that. Now, however, you'll see that when I go directly to this data, it doesn't anywhere show me the related objects. So that, in this case, again, I'm taking advantage of the fact that my title is a unique field for each object, and so that's a way of seeing how each image is related to the objects. I think that pretty much gives us our overview of the user interface with Greenstone. So let's end this screencast, and we'll return in a minute to look at the admin interface.